It is January 6, 2026 here at Escambia Lakes on the shores of Goat Refuge Lake. And we are transplanting elderberry from some bedding areas over there. And I'm going to tell you a few things that we've learned, what we've done. I'm not saying that's the way you would do it, but I'm going to put in this short video some very enlightening details about elderberry. Now, we take cuttings from elderberry. Some have been acquired from other sources, but most of the ones that are established in the wild, in the region, not necessarily very close by here, but in the region of the counties in Northwest Florida part of the state. Now, what we have here are a couple patches which were essentially born out of the concept of a starting bed, putting the sticks in the ground last winter into the early spring and getting them to sprout to be able to, well, transplant them out somewhere, right? But indeed they grew right here, and we decided to leave these ones right here. It's their home. Another patch right here. These other stalks around here are hibiscus, which grows around in this area. All those stalks out there, we grow carrots out there. There's a lot of different things going on in here, okay? Yucca there, wild rose, all kinds of things. But these two little patches of elderberry already produced a lot of berries for us. And as you can see, there's new shoots coming up, and as you can imagine, there's roots all over, crawling all over in the ground there. Why is this a good location? Well, we got a pump house right over here. We've got sprinkler line down here. We've got irrigation. It's like a bit of a nursery area, but it's going to be the established home for these elderberries right here for other reasons. See this little gully right here? Let me get up at the top and look down. It's a drainage point. This is where the water comes and is historically it's run down here in this area. That's exactly what elderberry likes, folks. Doesn't want wet feet at the base, but it likes wet stuff to crawl its roots into. It likes to be near water. And you see this drains off all these weeds. Hey, next year, this next year, there's not going to be any tall growth of weeds. It's all going to be elderberry. So then it cliffs off down here, drops on down, and then drains down to the lake. And there's other terracine down there. There's some pine trees coming up. I need to get some of those out of there. Yeah, so elderberry. Plan to plant it down here, near lake shores, especially near drain-off points. Very good soil here. This is actually where we just took a whole bunch of mulberry out of here that was growing in pots, and guess what? Some of those roots grew out 6, 7, 8 foot long, and we dug them out of here. So what are we doing today? We've got pots from a different style bedding area from over there where we put a lot of sticks in pots last year. I want to digress. It's actually the year before that we planted these ones here. Not this last winter, but the winter before. So they've had now they're going into their second year, but the first year there were berries. So it's second year we expect a lot more berries. These are this last winter's pots, the ones we planted in 2025 winter, early spring 2025. So these are in pots with roots, and we believe that the best way to do this is the original way we did it. Put them directly into some bedding areas. Because look at the pot. After, an entire spring, summer, fall, and then going into winter here, look at how the roots are just all spiraled around in there and trapped, and it's trying to get up and shoot some stalks up, and it can't because there's nowhere to go. There's a broken stalk right now. I'm going to plant that separately and it'll probably grow. So I'm going to continue with the sharp knife to cutting this pot open and freeing this elderberry plant. See, it's gone through a hole. I can't get it off until I cut between the hole and the perimeter of it. Those roots have done shut out every hole they could, but those stolons or runners or whatever you want to call them, they do tend to get trapped in pots. There's other plants where everything busts out, but with elderberry, they're softer. So they do get trapped and constricted, so you're not getting the growing potential by procrastinating and planting these things out later. You're not maximizing your growing potential. I mean, everything will be fine, but now I got to unwind these things and arrange them a bit and get them so they can recover from their constricted world and start going crazy, growing all over the place. There it is, see, all spiraled around there. So we'll be arranging those, and great soil here and plenty of compost and everything to put in and around these ones. We're putting them in here all along this little ditch and continue with another bed right here. There's going to be a lot of elderberry in this area. We'll be going down closer to the lake. Plus, we're planting them out at other locations where there are drain-off points into the lake. Seems to be, the best place to plant elderberry. So let me just tell you a little bit about some other experience. Well, we're going to grow this thing in rows, similar to out here, right? We're going to plant it formally and up in the higher, dry, sandy soil, right? Well, we didn't attempt that here, but we attempted it over at a different area where there was actually shade from some pine trees and all. It was a sandy, loamy soil, well drained, not as rich as perhaps this here, but bahia grass was growing. It wasn't so bad. 2 years in a row, I planted sticks out there in the late winter and early spring, and they started taking a root and growing, but it just seems you can't irrigate them enough or really get them to survive in this climate without special conditions. So what we're determining is that for our property, okay, I'm not going to speak for some other properties and definitely not other climates. Elderberry grows all the way up into Canada and all over the place. So, but for our Northwest Florida, Southern Alabama climate and environment, elderberry belongs where there's drainage, where there's drain ditches like this, where water comes down, where water accumulates nearby, nearby ponds, lakes, wetlands even, you can talk about wetlands, but that's a different story. This is all wetlands out here. We got wetland areas out there where we wouldn't grow it in there at all. Of course, there's other plants that are emphasized there. But on the edges of some areas where there's water, those are always the areas to look at. Here we like the sunlight here on the northern shore. Got this full southern exposure here of all this sunlight coming in. We've got the rich soil, we've got the water, and we've got our irrigation. It's always nice with elderberries, knowing that you can get it. And then once it's in these beds like this and goes through a season, then it can handle drought. It can handle much tougher conditions. But anyways, it's something we've learned, and so we've aborted the plan to plant them out at that higher sandy area. They were actually planned to be in rows between rows of blackberry. At this stage, we were either going to do something else between those rows of blackberry and keep those blackberries wide spaced. It was like every 8 foot blackberry, and then over 8 foot elderberry, then 8 foot blackberry. We were planning to do another row of blackberry in between, or something else. There's many other options for us there. And focus the elderberry planting in areas where the conditions are right. Right, little pup? Little pup. Do you agree with me, little pup? All right, let's get to work. Let's get to work, little pup. We got some elderberry to plant.